They will never tell you this, not in schools, not in books, not even in those polite investment seminars that drip with false smiles. The rich are not rich because they are smarter, luckier, or harder working than you. They are rich because they obey laws that you have never heard of, and breaking them, even once, can erase decades of work. Every empire, from the Medici bankers to modern billionaires, guards these laws like a fortress wall. And if you want to survive in the game of money, you must learn them before someone uses them against you. Think of every time you earned a little extra, only to watch it vanish. Think of every opportunity that promised the world but left you smaller, weaker, and more dependent. That wasn't bad luck. That was you walking into traps that the powerful have been avoiding for centuries. The truth is, money is not just earned. It is defended, weaponized, and multiplied according to unbreakable rules. Rules that once you see them, you will never unsee. Welcome to Curiosity to Wisdom. If you are tired of watching power slip through your fingers, tired of being outplayed by those who seem untouchable, this is your moment. Listen closely, because I am about to give you the same weapons they hide in plain sight, and once you have them, no one will ever see you as prey again. The principle that the most astute and powerful individuals adhere to without fail is a psychological cornerstone of autonomy. Never allow your survival to hinge on the benevolence of others. This tenet, known as the fortress account, transcends the concept of a mere savings account or a precautionary fund for unexpected hardships. It is a sacred, untouchable reservoir of capital, meticulously curated for a singular purpose: to ensure you possess the freedom to extricate yourself from any situation, be it a business deal, a professional obligation, or a personal relationship, without a moment's hesitation. The average individual teeters precariously on the edge of financial ruin, their stability tethered to the next paycheck, the next client, or the next unforeseen crisis. In stark contrast, those who wield true power construct a financial bulwark so robust and well-fortified that no external force can compel their submission. This fortress is not merely a collection of wealth. It is a psychological shield, a bastion that safeguards their independence and agency. The rationale behind this principle is rooted in a profound understanding of human behavior. Dependence is the precursor to subjugation. When another holds the reins of your sustenance, be it through employment, patronage, or obligation, they effectively govern your thoughts, words, and actions. The fortress account, therefore, is not designed for growth or speculation. It is a defensive stronghold, a vault to be left undisturbed unless existential threats loom large. To the common ear, this advice may seem impractical, even unattainable. Many will protest, "I barely have enough to survive, let alone set aside." Yet this objection reveals a deeper truth. Those who cannot afford to prioritize their financial independence have already ceded control of their destiny. The path to power begins with discipline, no matter as to how modest the starting point. Even a small, consistent effort to build this reservoir shifts the psychological landscape, fostering a mindset of self-reliance. Once this fortress is established, say with 6 months' worth of survival resources, the dynamics of power shift dramatically. Negotiations become less about appeasement and more about leverage. The need to seek approval diminishes, replaced by the confidence to assert demands. This is why those who understand power treat their fortress account as a sacred asset, akin to a crown jewel. It is the bedrock upon which all other strategic maneuvers are built, the foundation that ensures they remain players, never pawns, in the intricate game of influence and control. The second law of financial power is deceptively straightforward in its articulation, yet demands relentless discipline to execute. Never allow all your resources to be concentrated in a single domain. Those who wield true influence approach their wealth with the strategic acumen of a grandmaster surveying a chessboard. where each asset is a distinct piece with a unique role, positioned deliberately to maximize control and adaptability. Unlike the average individual who naively consolidates their financial security into a single job, a solitary investment, or a lone income stream, the powerful distribute their resources across a multifaceted landscape. This approach ensures that no single setback, be it a market crash, a job loss, or an unexpected betrayal, can topple their empire. When the unprepared are blindsided by a single blow that obliterates their fragile foundation, the astute remain unscathed, their diversified positions absorbing the shock. This principle, known as the Asset Chessboard, transcends mere diversification for the sake of caution. It is a calculated strategy for dominance. Each asset class serves a distinct function, much like pieces on a chessboard. Cash flow operates as a rook, delivering steady, linear strength. Real estate moves like a knight, offering unique angles of stability and growth. Equity stakes act as bishops, cutting diagonally through opportunities with precision. The objective is not merely to weather the next challenge, but to command the entire financial battlefield, anticipating and outmaneuvering threats. The powerful are perpetually repositioning their assets, fluidly shifting capital from high-risk ventures to secure havens when caution is warranted, or deploying resources into bold, aggressive plays when opportunities arise. This dynamic approach reflects a psychological detachment from their wealth. They do not become emotionally tethered to any single investment, but instead wield their assets with cold, strategic intent. When a piece is lost, a failed venture, a depreciated asset, the powerful do not falter. Instead, they embrace the sacrifice as a tactical move, clearing the board for new avenues of attack. This resilience stems from a mindset that views wealth not as a static hoard, but as a living, evolving game. Fortunes endure through wars, recessions, and betrayals, not because of the last dollar saved, but because of the foresight to plan the next move. By mastering the asset chessboard, the powerful ensure their financial strategy is always one step ahead, securing not just survival, but supremacy in an unpredictable world. The third law is the most invisible and the most feared. Never reveal the full extent of your wealth or strategy. This is called the silence dividend. Average people love to display success: the new car, the luxury vacation, the public victory speech. But every time you reveal your position, you hand ammunition to enemies you don't even know exist. The powerful understand that the most valuable asset in war, and make no mistake, money is war, is unpredictability. By concealing the true size of their reserves, they make themselves unassailable. Competitors underestimate them. Predators miscalculate. Partners negotiate under illusions. The silence dividend compounds in ways money alone cannot. It creates a fog around your power, forcing others to play cautiously. In the Renaissance courts, the richest men often appeared modest, letting rivals underestimate them until it was too late. In modern boardrooms, billionaires hide assets in trusts, shell companies, and foreign accounts, letting public records show only a fraction of their reach. The result? No one can truly corner them, because no one knows the size of the beast they are facing. The less they know about you, the harder you are to attack, and the greater your room to strike. You may already feel the sting of recognition, the quiet, uncomfortable awareness that these mistakes are not the exclusive sins of the careless, but the default habits of the average mind. Day after day, the common man violates every one of these laws, often with a misplaced sense of pride. He walks through life without a fortress account, chaining his very survival to the whims, moods, and mercy of others. In doing so, he surrenders the only true independence there is, the ability to stand unshaken when the world decides to withdraw its favors. He commits his entire arsenal to a single opportunity, a single relationship, a single stream of income, as if the future were certain and fortune could never turn. One gust of misfortune and the structure collapses. And perhaps most dangerously of all, he cannot resist the intoxicating urge to announce his victories. He flashes wealth, status, or success before a hungry audience, forgetting that every triumph displayed is a beacon to those who would take it from him. Just as a drop of blood in the sea summons predators from miles away, every public boast is a signal to the ambitious, the jealous, and the desperate. These errors are not accidents. They are self-inflicted wounds, the product of short-sighted thinking and emotional impulses dressed as confidence. To the untrained mind, these flaws seem harmless, human even, but each one sends a silent message to the world. I am prey. And once that label is attached, it clings. The powerful avoid these traps, not because they are born with some superior intellect, but because they have conditioned themselves to see the game differently. They train their perception until they no longer think like soldiers rushing into the nearest battle, but like generals mapping a war that may last decades. Their eyes are not fixed on immediate gain, but on the far horizon, where the real measure of success is not what can be seized in a moment, but what can be defended over a lifetime. That, and only that, is the difference between an empire that endures for centuries and a fortune that evaporates in a single season. If you're still listening, you already know you are not like the rest. The masses hear words like these and dismiss them as paranoia or cynicism, and that is why they remain powerless. But you see the truth. You feel it in your own history. The deals you entered without leverage, the money you lost in the name of trust, the predators you invited by showing your hand. If you refuse to keep repeating those mistakes, then commit now, here, publicly, in your own mind. Subscribe to curiosity to wisdom and arm yourself with every law, every tactic, every mental weapon they never wanted you to learn. Because this is not entertainment. This is survival training for the financial battlefield you were born into. Consider the Medici Bank of Florence, the Rothschild dynasty, or modern financial titans like Warren Buffett. None of these names became synonymous with enduring power because of charm, luck, or a few well-timed gambles. They understood, with surgical precision, that wealth is only as valuable as its ability to withstand time, war, politics, and human envy. They built fortresses of capital, not just in the literal sense of vaults and estates, but in layered systems of protection. Trusts, diversified holdings, strategic partnerships, and influence embedded so deeply in the framework of commerce and governance that removing them would be like tearing out the spine of the economy itself. Their assets were deployed like armies across a map, not concentrated in one vulnerable stronghold, but spread across territories, industries, and currencies. When one front faced attack, others held the line. When rivals collapsed in debt crises, they moved like vultures in the high air, descending only when the prey was already too weak to resist. Estates, businesses, even entire trade routes passed quietly into their possession, absorbed into an empire whose reach was measured in continents. When political regimes shifted, when thrones fell or revolutions swept the streets, their wealth remained untouchable because it was never trapped in one jurisdiction. It was dispersed, hidden in foreign vaults, discreetly managed through layers of intermediaries. To their enemies they were elusive, attacking shadows, finding only dead ends. The reality was simple. Their strength was real, but their visibility was always an illusion, carefully controlled so that no one could ever see enough to destroy it. This is not luck. It is the result of adherence to principles so tested and unyielding that they might as well be laws of nature, and, like any law, they can be studied, mastered, and replicated. Yet here lies the tragedy. Most people will never make the attempt. They will remain hypnotized by the chase for the next trend, the next hot opportunity, confusing speed for strategy. In doing so, they ignore the unbreakable rules that decide the final outcome. When the dust settles, as it always does, the crowd will find themselves empty-handed, while those who followed the laws will quietly own everything left standing. Imagine walking into a negotiation with a fortress account at your back, not just a bank balance, but a shield of financial independence so solid that the entire outcome is already tilted in your favor before a single word is spoken. You no longer enter the room seeking approval or survival. You arrive as the one who chooses whether a deal happens at all. That shift alone is seismic. The tension that grips most negotiators, the fear of losing the offer on the table, simply vanishes for you. You can demand higher terms without flinching, refuse concessions without apology, and walk away with the calm of someone who loses nothing by leaving. Now imagine the power of pairing that fortress with the silence dividend, the art of concealing your true reach. Your opponent sits across from you with a mental map of your resources, but the map is wrong. They believe your leverage is limited, your influence narrow. They relax, they miscalculate. They overextend themselves because they think they're negotiating from a position of safety. Meanwhile, every smile you give, every pause you allow, hides the fact that your position is far stronger than they realize. And then there is the asset chessboard, the ability to move capital, influence, and alliances across multiple arenas. You can apply pressure without direct confrontation, quietly pull funding from one venture that supports their position, redirect it to a competitor, shift your influence to open doors they cannot close. Each move forces them to respond, consuming their resources and attention. You are no longer reacting to their offers. You are setting the tempo, dictating the rhythm of the exchange. In this position, you are not merely negotiating, you are orchestrating. The conversation becomes just one instrument in a larger symphony of strategy. The other side is playing checkers on a board you've already remade to chess. They see the move in front of them. You see the entire game. This is the posture of the powerful, the state in which victory is not a matter of chance, but of design, and where the real outcome was decided before the meeting ever began. Economic collapse, stock market crash, currency devaluation. These are not abstract fears. They are inevitabilities. History shows that financial storms arrive with the same certainty as winter, and they drown the unprepared without mercy. The masses cling to optimism until the water is already at their necks, then thrash in desperation, selling assets at fire sale prices, begging for liquidity, accepting terms that strip them of everything. They are not victims of the storm itself, but of entering it without a vessel strong enough to withstand the waves. If you have obeyed the laws, your posture in such moments is entirely different. Your fortress account ensures that your essentials, food, shelter, stability, remain untouched by the chaos. You are not forced to liquidate assets in panic. You can wait as values collapse further, knowing time is your ally. While others trade their inheritance for pennies just to survive another week, you are patient, calculating, ready to strike. Then comes the advantage of the asset chessboard. In crisis, entire sectors become undervalued overnight. Competitors too frozen by fear or crippled by debt cannot move. You, however, can pivot instantly, pulling resources from stagnant positions and deploying them into assets priced far below their true worth. The same panic that drains them fuels your expansion. Every move you make during this time is magnified in its impact because the field is emptying of active players. And all the while, the silence dividend shields you from attention. No one sees your maneuvers until your position is already entrenched. You are the quiet figure acquiring influence while the loudest voices shout about disaster. By the time the market recovers, the assets others abandoned are under your control, and the competitors you once faced are gone or dependent on you for survival. For those who have kept tight, laws, crises are not just survivable, they are profitable. They are opportunities to absorb territory, consolidate power, and build positions that would be impossible in calmer times. When the dust clears, the unprepared will emerge diminished, licking their wounds. You will emerge stronger, holding a larger share of the board than before the storm began. When you live by these laws, money ceases to be your master and becomes your instrument. It is no longer a goal you chase, but a force you direct. You stop measuring success by the size of the pile you sit on today and begin to measure it by the depth of your control tomorrow. Your mind shifts away from the shallow question of, how do I get rich, to the deeper, sharper question, how do I command? This is the turning point, the moment wealth ceases to be about accumulation and becomes about orchestration. In this transformation, you become immune to the barbs and judgments of those who still live at the mercy of fortune. When someone mutters, "You're just lucky," you smile, because you know luck played no part in the fortress you've built. When they hiss, "You're ruthless," you neither flinch nor apologize, because you understand that discipline and clarity are virtues, the weak mistake for cruelty. You know exactly what you are: untouchable. The truly powerful do not beg for validation from the crowd. They do not waste breath trying to prove their worth to those who could never grant it. Respect, for them, is not earned through charm or approval seeking. It is commanded through the quiet certainty of control. And control is not a single achievement, but a state maintained through vigilance. A vigilance grounded in the unbreakable application of these three laws. Once internalized, these laws become more than strategies. They become reflexes. You will no longer feel the temptation to tie your survival to the whims of others, to gamble everything on a single opportunity, or to broadcast your victories like a flare in the night. These instincts will have been burned out of you, replaced by the steady, calculating habits of those who endure. In the end, the transformation is not simply about wealth. It is about positioning yourself beyond reach, to stand where no three are. Eat can dislodge you, where no storm can strip you bare, where no rival can pull you down. That level of security is not given. It is built, and it begins with a single decision: never break these three laws. The world will not applaud you for understanding these laws. There will be no parade for the one who studies them, no standing ovation for the one who repeats them aloud. The world, in fact, will do something far more brutal. It will punish you for breaking them. Every deal you make, every alliance you form, every choice you commit to will either reinforce your position or weaken it. There is no safe middle ground where you can coast without consequence. Neutrality is an illusion. In this game, you are either advancing or you are retreating. The powerful have known this for centuries, long before modern finance, long before stock exchanges and digital markets. They played by the same rules you now hold in your hands. They survived wars, regime changes, and economic collapses because they understood a truth the masses refuse to face. The game never stops, and the rules never change. It is only the players who rise and fall. Those who forget the laws are erased from the board, often so completely that no one remembers their names. Now you know these laws as well. You cannot claim ignorance. The question is no longer whether they work. History has already answered that. The only question that matters is whether you will have the discipline to obey them without exception, even when it is uncomfortable, even when those around you scoff or call you paranoid. Discipline is the true currency here, and without it, even the best strategies rot into theory. In the game of money, there are no second chances. A single reckless move can undo years of careful positioning. A moment of vanity can expose what you have hidden. A lapse in vigilance can hand your advantage to a rival who will not give it back. The choice before you is simple. Treat these laws as non-negotiable, or accept that your fate will be decided by those who do. The board is set, the pieces are moving, and the clock is already ticking. This is the unspoken reality of what some call fortune, others call power, and what I call the laws of wealth.